for those that are helping grow another person, but I think the concept of growth is personal growth as well. So as we grow, we get to help other people grow. So hopefully we can have inspiration and just a dialogue about how that happens in your personal life and then how that is replicated in others. And so I was just reminded on this topic of like I was one of those kids that just wanted to be a grown up and have all of the perks of that. You know, like I got the bigger piece of meat, or I got to tell everybody what to do and how to do it. And I didn't think of the bad stuff. I just thought of the power that I would have if I was grown up. Everybody would have to do what I said. I have grown up kids now, and I just remember as they were getting older, they had a picture of what a grown up. So my one son, he I don't even know, he was like in daycare, so he was probably like 4, and he came home and he's like, "When I grow up, I want to be the Dairy Queen girl." And I'm like, I don't even know if there is a Dairy Queen girl. I don't know what that job would entail, but okay, when you grow up, that's what you can be. Years down the road with competitive hockey and stuff, and he would have to dress up a little bit. And he goes, "When I'm a grown up, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I want to wear a suit to work." And so it's like this idea of growth, of becoming a grown up. And so whatever it is, when you hit grade 8, we did this project where you fill all these check marks of what you're good at, what you don't like at. Then they put it through this computer, and then it comes up. This is how you're going to do being a grown up. You're going to have this kind of job. You're going to be, a research developer. You're going to be an astronaut. You're going to be a digger. You're going to be but like nobody said you're going to be an alcoholic and a drug addict or a codependent or fill in the blank. No, they left that possibility out of the plate. So how do we grow? I think is found in seeking. I believe that seeking is the faculty that causes growth. So when you look at the word seek, it's attempt. It's making attempt to find. That attempt is to go after. I'm seeking, I'm attempting to go after something or to obtain, um, and to achieve. Like I'm seeking, I'm attempting to achieve something, and then I'm attempting to ask. I sought help. And so this concept of seeking is, I think, instrumental as a character or part of our nature, or a value that we all have inherently that causes us to grow. So whatever holds us, whatever we're seeking, typically is what we are attracted to or what we go to. But whatever holds us starts to mold us. And so we have these we have these inherent instincts that we all seek naturally. If you've taken Life Lab, you'll see them in some of the work there of these basic instincts that God has given us. They're all good, they're all God given. But through the separation of God, they become exaggerated. We've had this story about the worm dealer and the hungry bird having to dig in the hard soil to get his worms. And then there was a worm dealer that magically appeared. And then the worm dealer was just like, here's a couple worms for a couple feathers. We'll just make this trade. And so he sought out an easier, softer way, and it shaped and molded him as he sought it. And so over the course of time, he couldn't fly. And so many of us can relate to seeking something and it actually taking our wings, and we don't have the ability to maybe not fly, but not to live properly, not to work properly, not to be in relationships properly. And so how do I get this exaggerated seeking? Well, for me, it came out of my wounding. So whatever scenarios that you've grown up in, great scenarios, foster kids scenarios, single parent, only parent, whatever it is in the parents in the church, not in the church, against the church, whatever scenario, there's always been experiences that you'll have. And out of those experiences, there's a message from those, and so the message comes in the form of fear. And so for me, I was adopted at a young age, at 2 years old. I don't remember it, but I know what the message was because my life revolved around it. So the message was that you are so bad that you can't even, you're not acceptable in a bad situation. And so I came into an agreement with that message. I said, yeah, I must be so bad. And so I came into consent with the voice of fear. I came into consent with fear being at the center of my heart because I agreed with it. And then I made a vow. And so my vow in particular was I'm going to prove to the world around me that I deserve to breathe the same air as they do. And this is all under the surface, but this was the tension of my heart. I was trying to prove myself. I was in competition with everybody around me, and I had this exaggerated seeking for my basic instincts, which are all God given. They're good. Security, my safety, my belonging, my mattering. So where do I matter? What I do matters. My recognition, where I belong. I've never felt that I've belonged anywhere in my whole entire life. Maybe that's from this wounding. Maybe it's from being a missionary kid and carried around the world. I believe that we counted that I lived in 18 different places, 18 different homes by the time I got to grade 10. So where do I belong? And then the safety, the security. So all of that is good and God given, and we seek those things in our lives. Where we have our wounding is where we have an exaggerated sense of those things. And so I just want to bring up the growth factor of whatever I'm seeking, that's where I'm going to grow. So if I'm seeking self-reliance, then I'm going to build myself into a character that is going to prove myself to the world. So I'm going to have a certain kind of job. I'm going to dress a certain way. I'm going to speak a certain way. I'm going to demand respect. I'm not going to earn it. I'm going to demand it. So that's what's going to shape and mold me into the person that I get to become. And then out of that, I for me, it was such a burden, all of that stuff, the tension inside. And when I found alcohol and then later into drugs, that's what gave me the relief. And so now I'm seeking the relief of the things that I was seeking in the first place to give me life and validation, to get my basic instincts, even though that they were exaggerated. So now it's turning inward on myself and it's trying to destroy me. And so for 15 years of addiction, being in and out of jail and all of the crazy stuff of that, I got to the point where seeking that was either I was going to die or I was going to try to find a new way of living. And so I ended up at a homeless shelter and I was totally insane. I was trying to take my own life, but I couldn't even do that. So I couldn't live and I couldn't take my own life. I didn't really want to hurt myself, but I didn't want to wake up. And and I just was stuck in this hyper psychosis state of trying to die but not being able to live. It was a horrific place, very dark, very scary, very uncertain. And so what they told me as I entered into their way of treatment to this, of my addiction, they actually said my addiction wasn't the problem, it's on the inside. And so they said that you need to seek a relationship with God. And to me, it was like that was the most ridiculous thing. Like I had a lot of ridiculous stuff in my head, but that one didn't make sense because I felt like the dog when you talk to a dog and they're like they're puzzled, they want to know more. They're seeking, but they don't understand. And so I literally had my head sideways because I didn't understand what a relationship with God would do to solve my problems. But the part that I didn't understand was in the seeking, that's where I'm going to find growth. And so that's what happened to me is I had to really understand that a relationship, no matter what it is, I'm going to be seeking it. And whatever I'm seeking it, that's where I'm getting my growth from, whatever way it's growing. If you're a plant person, I see some plant people there. I'm really good at having plants for a very specific amount of time. I don't, I haven't really studied how to love and take care of plants. I understand that they're living, but for some odd reason, like they do really well and then they start not doing well. And then I try to help them more and I think I overwater them. I think that's the problem, but they have a certain lifetime in my capacity. So either you're growing to die or growing in a healthy way, growing in an unhealthy way or growing in a healthy way. So what I didn't understand was what I was seeking is what's going to be my new solution. So in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it talks about this revelation is as soon as we admitted the possible existence of creative intelligence or spirit of the universe, a creator, a God, however that looks like. For me, it was a messed up concept of rules and regulations and demands and a certain way of living. Like you had to behave this way to be in a relationship with God. Um, we began to possess a new state of power and direction, providing we took other simple steps. So that's just the beginning, is putting a belief and admitting that I was playing God and now I need to um, be in relationship with God. Provided we took other simple steps, we found that God does not make too hard terms with those who seek him. To us, the realm of the spirit is broad and roomy, all inclusive, never exclusive or forbidding to those who earnestly seek him. It is open, we believe, to all men. And so I believe that too is that I had the relationship with God. I invited Jesus into my heart when I was 12 years old. I was a missionary kid. I was a pastor kid, but I didn't have a relationship with this power. I guess in my head it was flannel graph Jesus and the Bible stories and it was just a way of living, but it wasn't a way of being in relationship and I didn't seek it earnestly. It was just religion. It was just how do I be good enough to make it through a day to suit my life the way I want it to be or expect it to be or for you to expect it to be. So I have to perfect and enlarge my spiritual life. I must grow in this. So the steps lead us into the relationship. The process of Life Lab, the process of the 12 steps lead us into the relationship. And it's the part of the relationship is where I grow. So I don't grow because of the steps, I grow because of the relationship. It's a big difference. So how do I grow? In the big book, it talks about I must perfect and enlarge my spiritual life through the work and self-sacrifice for others. So I thought of a parked car. I thought of my car. And here we go with the car analogy. And my car that is parked or the car that is stopped is either a car that is just idle. It's not really going anywhere. It's not a bad thing. And even if I take it to the garage, I was idle with my car at the garage for an hour getting my tires balanced yesterday because I was wobbling. And so um, this idea of maintenance for the car is imperative for the journey of the car. So I have to maintain it. I have to change the oil, change the summer tires are coming soon, praise the Lord. And I have to do these things of maintenance for the car, but it's idle. And that's the life of a relationship with God. I get to be in the presence of God. I get to be transformed by his power. I'm seeking him in the morning. I'm seeking him in the afternoon. I'm seeking him in the evening. I'm seeking God's will for my life through a relationship that I have gotten through the work of the 12 steps, the necessary steps, because I'm seeking God. I have to go through the process of cleaning out the blocks to God through the 12 steps, through the Life Lab process. This is what gets me cleared up, like unplugging the drain of the sink. And so it's kind of like the idle car at the mechanics. It's like this prayer meditation life. It's growing me from the inside, but then I start to go. And in the go, I start to grow, but it's where I'm going. Am I seeking God in everywhere I'm going? And I had that experience of my first year with my resume. And I saw that I had to get paid. I actually still had a house. My wife paid the mortgage. I had a car. I had kids in hockey. I had all these things, and I had to seek finances to be able to pay for this. So I used my resume and I got back into the workforce. I have a couple trades that I've been involved in. And over the next few months, I relapsed a couple times. I never went back into it as hard as possible, but when I relapse, it's for a 24-hour period, maybe a 48-hour period. And I just was like, what am I doing wrong? Well, I was still seeking the wrong thing. I wasn't seeking God in everything I did. And so I came to the point of just desperation of like, I'm just going to be like a disabled man for the rest of my life and volunteer because I feel God when I'm serving soup and sandwiches at the soup kitchen. I feel God when I'm at these places and at these meetings and at these studies. And so I'm just going to do that for the rest of my life. And I, I came to this revelation because I read a Bible verse that said, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. And so I need to seek God, and then all of the things will be added unto me. And it's so contradictory to how I'm supposed to live. But the Bible says, don't be conformed to the pattern of the world. And so this was all lining up in my heart, and I was like ready to be like a disabled man that I could never work properly ever again in my life. And I had a lot of gumption and a lot of energy, and so I put myself in a position to seek God at handing out sandwiches. I sought God in going to certain meetings and 12-step fellowships, and I became basically a professional volunteer, and that lasted for about 9 months to a year. And and starting to do this and seeking God in all of the things that I was doing, it was starting to change my thinking. And so the thinking that had to be changed was a few basic principles that are found in the 12 steps. So the main one would be that I need to grow in understanding and effectiveness. I do that through seeking God in the quiet time when the car is sitting and the car is at the mechanic. I do that through prayer and meditation. And then it says that our real purpose is to be a fit spiritual condition and to be maximum service to God and his children. And so I have to make my thinking about that. How is this going to benefit others? And I understand that we have families and we have kids' activities and all that stuff. But here I am sitting as a professional volunteer. I have extra time. I have a lot of extra time and just tried to put the money stuff out of the back of my head. And over the course of about 9, 10 months, I was just a volunteer, and all of my principles and thinking were being changed because I was in position for God to rewrite my thinking. And over the course of time, I didn't ask God for a job. I didn't ask anybody for a job. I said I did ask God to get me a job if I needed one. And after about 9, 10 months, I found myself working with a home that served mentally ill men. And it was the first job that I ever had in service. And I got paid probably a 20th of what I was getting paid per hour. And but it put me in another position to seek God. And seeking God started to change all of my thinking. And I would say that the other day, I got to see a man that is in my position. He's 2 years down the road. I have a few more years on him, and we're involved in street outreach, and we go down to the street on a weekly basis. But then we're trying to get into places where people that are at risk for overdose or death. maybe living on the street or at risk of being homeless. We want to go to those places and host meetings. And we got into a place, and they have a safe injection site there. And so we're doing this peer-to-peer meeting. And so we kind of like just show up, and I look at him, and my wife came, and we're like, so what does this mean? Like, it feels like they agreed to something that we didn't even have figured out yet. And we just said, let's just share our story and just accept who's here and love them and give them hope. Um, Everybody in our meeting, all 5 or 8 people that came in and out, were high. All of them. No one wasn't high except us. And we had some donuts, we had some socks, and we left there. And I was like, I don't even know what happened, but I feel the love of Jesus inside of me in a different way. And the next time we went, there was a couple of the same people. And one guy was having the worst night of his life, and everybody was high again. And I believe that my wife made 3 of them cry just because she just shared her heart, because she is the wife of an addict. And we got to share our little snippets of a story. It's not about us, but it's about we were there. We were doing these things, and we've overdosed, and like just relating. And the one guy at the end of the meeting said, I feel so much hope right now. And I was like, me too. And it's like I'm seeking God in all of the activities that I do because it fills me and it grows me. And as I grow, I can be more effective and be better of a maximum service to God and to others. And over the course of time, my life gets less and less about me. And I don't know what the retirement plan is. I still don't know that. But Saint Francis of Assisi's, he had a prayer, and it says, may I seek rather to comfort than to be comforted. And so may I seek these things for others than for myself. And so I would just leave you with that. Whatever you're seeking, whatever you're being held by, whatever you're going to is going to hold you and mold you. And so if I want to be molded into the image of God with his love and his mercy and his grace and his patience and his kindness and his goodness and his self-control and his freedom, then I have to seek him in everything I do, whether it's going to the hockey game with my kids, whether it's going to the grocery store. And I'm not saying being a Bible thumper, because Jesus doesn't need any salesman. He needs reflections of his light and his love and his salt to the world around us, even in a grocery line. And so, can I be inspired in the morning? Can I be inspired at a grocery store to let other people through, or at traffic stop, whatever it is? Can I be the salt and light and love of God because he lives in me? And so I go from being driven by the spirit of alcohol, the rooted in fear. And so I go from being fueled by alcohol, the spirit of alcohol, and now I go from being fueled by the spirit of God. But I got to go through the process to have that spirit within me to grow that.